Welcome to the Stack Supplement Podcast, the premier source for supplement news and reviews.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Stack Supplement Podcast, where we run down all the top stories and exciting announcements shared on our website from the past 7 days. And we're going to kick this episode off with news from CMP, who was actually, which was the brand we interviewed last week. If you caught it on Spotify, iTunes, Google, and all the good podcast platforms, we got to sit down and chat with Mark Harrison from CMP, and basically talk to him about everything the brand had been doing over the past few years. A big transition that it's been making is to basically become a more modern, upbeat brand, and when it comes to approach, categories, styles, and everything like that. And it very much did display all of those things. Which is interesting, is that's what Mark was saying. The brand did do all of that last year. If you're following it, obviously had its limited edition pre-workout Stim Junkie. Now, those sorts of things may seem common when we're talking about modern day brands and much newer companies, but when you're talking about established companies like CMP, who's been around for 20-something years, that's not something you see. That's not something you see all that often. Whether it be a limited edition pre-workout or something that's actually full-blown stim-free, which is sort of a trend we're seeing a lot over the past few months past couple of years. So it was a great conversation, definitely worth a listen. But again, we're going to kick this episode off with a story from last week from CMP. One of the stories, we got two stories actually. One stemmed from the interview with Mark Harrison, and the other was also mentioned and released when we did the podcast, coincidentally. And so basically, first I will cover the news from within the podcast, and that is that, so last year, CMP came out with the pre-workout Stim Junkie, which was only intended to be available for a limited time, and it was indeed available for a limited time. It came out, I can't quite remember when exactly it came out, but then it had a second run around Black Friday. Pre-workout features a pretty intense formula for a legacy veteran brand, including the likes of DMHA, a few other solid stems. But basically, it was around for a limited time. And for 2021, CMP is looking to do the same thing again, bring out. It said it's bringing out a pre-workout. I don't know if it's limited edition like Stim Junkie, but they said they're bringing out a pre-workout, kind of a follow-on from Stim Junkie, and it's instead of being more energy focus driven, stimulant driven like Stim Junkie, it's intended to be a more comprehensive pre-workout. I guess kind of like I think to the differences you see in a lot of modern day brands anyway. Apollo Nutrition is one that comes to mind. They have Hooligan and Assassin being the very high stim, very high powered pre-workout, and Hooligan intended to be its less stimulating but more comprehensive pre-workout. I'm sort of a fan of things that fall in the middle, kind of like Devastator of the Union and Hypermax. Both provide some good intense energy and have a nice well-rounded blend of benefits. But yeah, so that's what CMP is planning to come out with later this year. We don't have too many details. If you listen to our interview with Mark Harrison, you'll know he didn't want to spill a whole lot. He didn't spill a whole lot. He kind of kept it close to the chest. And the other news story from CMP is last week. And again, Mark mentioned this in our interview with him, is that they're bringing Stim Junkie back in a trial size 15 serving tub. And that 15 serving tub did in fact launch just over this past weekend. It features the exact same formula as the regular 30 serving tub of Stim Junkie, including that DMHA, juniper berry, 350 milligrams of caffeine, along with a few other goodies. But again, it's a trial size. They have 15 servings, so it's half the amount of the 30 serving original. And the price isn't as cost effective, but it's not too bad. So if I remember correctly, I'm trying to recall the exact price. I believe it was, yes, $27.99 in pounds, so British pounds. That's the price on the 30 serving. And so obviously this is half the size, but it's not half the price. It's just a little bit more than half the price at £18.99. So that works out to about 26 US. So I guess it's a good way to keep it on, keep it living and everything like that. And But that one's available now in the UK. That more comprehensive pre-workout, from what we understand, is coming later this year. So definitely stay tuned. Now that we got that information out of Mark and our CMP, it'll be interesting to see what it eventually turns into. And we'll definitely keep hitting them away, finding out some more details, and hopefully get more information as we get closer to the launch. The next story we have actually comes from Oatine. Now, if you can remember last week's podcast, we talked about Oatine, the UK functional brand that, true to its name, is all about oats and protein. And they're coming out with a line of sports nutrition products, or sports nutrition supplements, under the brand name Succeed. And it's going to be called Succeed by Oatine, and it's going to consist of 7 supplements. There'll be 3 of them going to be protein powders, each with its own little point of difference. And then there'll be the creatine, 2 pre-workouts, and the Amino Supreme BCAA. Now, last week we talked about Limitless pre-workout, and I did point out that it was interesting that it's kind of, when you see a pre-workout from a brand, you can kind of give you an idea on what the rest of the brand is going to be like. A lot of the time, if it's a fully dosed pre-workout and they have like an amino, it's a good chance it'll have a good dosages of aminos, EAAs, as well as a few other things like glutamine, citrulline, other electrolytes to help out with hydration, sort of a more intra-workout amino-based supplement. And that can kind of continue across if the brand also has a fat burner, a test booster, and all that stuff. So when Limitless, the formula was dropped, and we talked about it last week, the point was that it was a very simple, a very straightforward, a very basic pre-workout. And I thought it was a reflection on the rest of the brand. And to be honest, the rest of the Succeed supplements are pretty straightforward. There's the 3 protein powders, oats and protein, Dynamic, which is just a weight concentrate formula, Diet Protein, Evolve Creatine, which is a straightforward creatine, and Supreme BCAA, which is a basic BCAA. The interesting thing is that details on Oatine's other pre-workout under Succeed came out last week. That pre-workout is Voltage. Now, this one is intended to be a high stim, or a more intense stimulant pre-workout compared to Limitless. And so after seeing Limitless first, I didn't expect much. I thought it was just going to be more caffeine, maybe some nootropic ingredients, maybe alpha GPC, choline, whatever. I was extremely surprised. I was extremely surprised. So if you've been following this site, the formula was shared over the weekend for this one. And this is, I would say, I mean, it's not super loaded, super over the top, intense and all that jazz, but it is a whole lot better than Limitless. So Oatine has really loaded this thing up, really packed this one out, again, compared to Limitless. Voltage is indeed a high stim pre-workout, but it's high stim compared to Limitless. I would almost argue it's just a well put together pre-workout, more of the mainstream one, which has me thinking that Limitless should be classified more as a mainstream or cost-effective type thing, very similar to how you have C4 Ultimate and then you have C4 Extreme, which is their sort of more cost-effective entry-level pre-workout. That's how I would see this. Limitless would be a very basic entry-level pre-workout. Voltage, more advanced mainstream, even though it comes across as a very energy-focused, powered experience. So the formula on this one is like I said, is night and day. It's much better than Limitless. You get 4.2 grams, 4.25 of beta-alanine. Surprisingly, more than a gram more than the usual 3.2, and even a little bit more than the 4 grams that we typically see. Arguably, a very rare high dose, I would say, for beta-alanine. Citrulline malate's in there as well, but it is at 4.5 grams. I would have preferred to see 6, but again, compared to the Limitless, it's not too bad. And then you have creatine monohydrate, another ingredient I would have liked to see a higher dose of. It's got 1.5 grams, but in that note, they do have, as I said, one of the 7 supplements Succeed is launching with is a straightforward creatine monohydrate formula. So I guess if you want to get full doses of creatine, then you could probably do scoop on non-training days, and then if you're taking it with this, you probably just shuffle a little bit off and count it up from the pre-workout. There's also phosphatidylserine, choline bitartrate, DMAE, Norvaline, Juglans, which is DMA essentially, caffeine and taurine. The caffeine's at 350, the Juglan's at 200. So it is indeed kind of a high energy, high powered pre-workout, but just a much better, I would say, more well-rounded pre-workout than Limitless. And I thought this was pretty cool to see, because again, I thought the brand was going to be basic, was going to be straightforward, wasn't going to have much to it. And I guess the Voltage really, I mean, when you look at it overall, Voltage and Limitless are really the only two complex supplements in the Succeed lineup. And so I guess the Limitless was truly a reflection on the rest of the line, because the rest of the line is straightforward. It doesn't intend to be more. But I was impressed to see the brand really pack a lot more into Voltage, really put in a lot more ingredients, go for a more stronger and more intense approach. So I would say if you are in the UK, the brand does come out, you're a fan of Otein and you come across it, definitely treat it like that. Like I said, I still view them, Limitless and Voltage, still marketing-wise come across as I guess a mainstream pre-workout and the high-stim pre-workout. Treat it more as to what I was saying, Limitless being the entry level and Voltage being the one you're probably going to want. But that brand, as far as I know, is still due to launch later this month. We have details on the side of all of the supplements. I think the only one I haven't seen a closer look at just yet is oats and protein. But that was an actual supplement Otein has had before, if you can remember, which is essentially, as its name says, oats and protein. So it's oats and whey in the one supplement, but you can pretty much gather what that one's all about. But yeah, just head to the site, type in Otein, and you will get all the details you need to know. Now we head over to the main US market, and we had a lot of exciting news and stories shared last week. Starting with Enlightened, who has been one of my favorite functional food brands ever since I kind of was introduced to them. Not only are the ice cream delicious, but it's been awesome watching them come out with their different ice creams they have over the years. You've had the keto, which is, to be honest, even though I'm a big low carb fan, I find the keto ice creams out there to be much more like real ice creams. The sweetness it's not as close in sweetness. It's about as close in flavor and tastiness as a regular ice cream, but the keto ice creams just nail the hell out of this creaminess. Obviously, their ingredients are keto friendly. It's a different set of macros to work with, but the consistency and texture on those keto ice creams, specifically Enlightened's ones, are much more like your traditional sugar-loaded ice cream, and that combined with the not as intense but still strong flavor, it gets it closer to that real ice cream than your high-protein ice creams, even like Halo Top. But so it's been fun watching Enlightened come out with the products it has over the years. They've one of the awesome ones they did last year, I think it was last year, the year before, was the cheesecakes, which was awesome. They've done great things. That they had the chocolate coated ice cream bars, and then the chocolate dipped ice cream bars. They've expanded in great ways, and this past week they came out with a product that you probably didn't think you would want, or you didn't think the brand could do or need. But they do, and it is sugar-free ice cream cones, which is of course a perfect product to go alongside Enlightened's keto-friendly ice cream and original ice cream and plant-based ice cream and so on. And the cones are indeed true to the name. They're sugar-free, which of course leads to some intensely low calories. It's only got 3 grams of net carbs per cone, 0 fat and sugar, a gram of protein, and it gives you a total of 30 calories. So paired with the ice cream, it gets you that one step closer to that classic ice cream in a cone treat and snack. And they're not all that expensive through the brand's website, which if you've never shopped there before, they have a thing where you basically just spend $50 and shipping's free, even when you have the ice creams in there as well, which obviously requires a little more of intense, safe packaging. But the cones are $6 for a box, and each box has 12. So, I mean, the math is it's 50 cents a piece. That's very small price and only 30 calories as well. So small cost, small calorie cost as well. Next, we head to Sephiroth's brand Axe and Sledge, who announced a big partnership with the classic nostalgic frozen beverage company IC. It's partnered with them for two flavors, two authentic IC flavors, and I believe it is cherry and blue raspberry, with both of those flavors being available or being launched for Axe and Sledge's Amino the Grind and its stimulant pre-workout ignition switch. Now, if you can remember back into late 2019, Sparta Nutrition announced that it had done the exact same thing. It announced that it had teamed up with IC for the same two flavors, cherry and blue raspberry, for its pre-workout. Now, those pre-workout, so those flavors and those products did launch, I think it was late 2019, and they were kind of taken off the site, and the site was taken down, and I haven't really seen or heard any updates since. So as far as I know, they're not available. But these ones are launching this February 16th. So I think this podcast will be going live on the February 15th or 16th. So you'll be able to pick them up through the Axe and Sledge website, where both the Grind and Ignition Switch usually cost $39.99. And as mentioned, there'll be authentic flavors, so intended to replicate and taste just like the real thing. And again, it'll be cherry and blue raspberry for both the Grind and Ignition Switch. And the brand has, of course, if you're at all familiar with Axe and Sledge, you know that for a lot of its special edition flavors and limited edition products, it rebrands them basically to look like the theme it's going for. Obviously, with its famous Jack Daniels-like label design, which is I think that one was whiskey and cola, and so they've done that flavor for a few products now. But that's kind of what they've continued here for this one. The both the IC flavors for the Grinded Ignition Switch do have a nice IC inspired theme and color design to them. And again, you can check that out on the site. Just search up Axe and Sledge. We got two stories to close out this episode. The first one I'm going to go on comes from Jack Factory, and this is something that's been mentioned and talked on and touched about over the past few months, and that is so Jack Factory, one of its premier athletes is Chris Bumstead, who of course is two-time classic physique Mr. Olympia champion, his second coming this Olympia just been. And so there have been talks and mentions of him getting his own line or his own supplements or whatever with Jack Factory. News came out last week of exactly what that's going to look like. That it is going to be a Chris Bumstead line of supplements, essentially just the Chris Bumstead or C-Bum series of supplements. And it is due to launch, I believe, later this month. I was told around the 23rd. Now, there will be two supplements to start, a pre-workout and a protein powder. Now, while the protein powder will be pretty straightforward, I believe it's called C-Bum ISO. So it's kind of self-explanatory, very clean, very premium whey isolate-based supplement. The pre-workout, however, is going to have a bit more to it. We haven't really been told too much about what's in this thing, just that it's a hard-hitting, well-put-together, well-dosed pre-workout, on par, I guess, on the cleanliness and leanness of the protein powder. So, I mean, I believe details on the pre-workout are coming soon. Again, it's not really a whole lot of information to share, just that it's Chris Bumstead getting his own series of supplements with Jack Factory. And that'll be out later this month. As soon as we get details on the pre-workout, we'll share it. But I think that's the one you're going to be wanting to look out for. The protein powder, again, as Chris Bumstead himself explained it, as very simple, very straightforward, mostly kind of focusing on being clean and lean type thing. The last story we have actually comes from a functional company that most people will know if they ever shopped in the snack section at GNC Vitamin Shop, and it is Lenny and Larry's, who we posted details on its all-new cookie that I believe is dropping within the next couple months. It is called the Boss Cookie, And it is very different from the complete cookie, which Lenny and Larry's is mostly known for. And one of the key things I know that a lot of people always mentioned when we always see a lot of comments about the Lenny and Larry's complete cookie was the calories. Now, it is high protein. I think it has 16 grams of protein, at least in the classic chocolate chip flavor. But with that 16 grams of protein comes a lot of calories, and so it kind of it doesn't it balances it out. It doesn't balance it out. And obviously, if you're someone looking for a high protein snack, then 16 grams of protein with a lot of calories isn't necessarily what you're looking for. It does taste damn good, and I guess that was always the trade-off. But so the Boss cookie coming from Lenny and Larry's is a little bit different. Now it's got 18 grams of protein, 18 to 19 grams of carbohydrates with only a gram of that sugar, and 220 calories per cookie. So it is significantly leaner than the original Lenny and Larry's complete cookie. It's more protein, lower carbs, lower calories. So it essentially kind of does away with the comments of, yeah, it tastes great, but the protein comes with a lot of calories. So this, I guess, almost seems like the answer to those complaints, but or those comments. But I guess the catch is how good does it taste? I haven't tried this. Haven't really seen it available anywhere yet, but it does look pretty delicious. There are going to be 3 flavors. There's will be chocolate chunk, double chocolate chunk, both of which have chunks of chocolate throughout, and then there is the peanut butter chunk, which has peanuts throughout. So, and again, judging by the pictures, there seems to be a lot of chunks. So my guess is it will taste good, but you won't know until you try it yourself. But you can read more about the Boss cookie on the website. You can even get a closer look at the cookie. We'll share details as soon as it becomes available. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. We do have another interview coming later this week. I don't believe I can share who it is with just yet. We actually will be recording 2 and spreading them out just to make sure we don't miss one next week. But once again, thank you for tuning in, and look forward to having you listen again next time.